Hey yo, what's poppin', man? Hope you guys have been good. So in today's video, we're going to do a little Q&A. We're going to cover these 4 images right here, okay? Telegram question 1, Telegram question 1 with the text, SS1, SS2. These are all questions. I have decided to cover some of the Telegram users' names in case they're uncomfortable. So before I proceed with this video, if you guys have questions that you want to send me, but you don't want me to clip your name together with it the same way I've clipped this person's name over here, if you don't want that to happen, just explicitly mention that to me, okay? And I will get that done for you, no problem. All right? Okay, so we're going to cover the first one, which is Telegram question 1 text, okay? Now this person says, after D1 rejected D1. Okay, so in this first image over here, he's showing me that daily has rejected daily. We'll go and check that out. We'll check everything out on the actual trading view after this, but let's look at this first, okay? After D1 rejected D1, all right, and then H4 breaks the price, H4 break, but the price never came back to test the fresh levels, all right? And I'll show you the image. How can we trade this type of market? So this is the image he sent me. I'll show you guys this. So going back to his question again, H4 breaks, but the price never comes back to test the fresh level. So what he's talking about is we had a daily reject daily, guys, all right? So we're looking at a buy here. Daily rejected daily support, and we had a H4 break of structure. But H4 never comes back to retest some of these levels. Now, the first thing I can see, all right, is in these 2 arrows, we have one arrow that's actually a little bit inaccurate. If we were to look just based on his broker, on his screenshot, okay, because it looks like he's analyzing based on his own broker, that's perfectly fine. The arrow should actually be placed here. This horizontal arrow should be placed right here. This would be the point when we had, see this pink line, that's the daily on the left hand side. We had a daily reject daily, and then this was the H4 that decided to get broken. This was the first H4. This was the first buy sell, then price touches into the daily, and then we get a breakout from there. So first, immediately the arrow should be placed below. Now, aside from that, regardless, okay, this is a very valid question. How would we know where the big move is likely to happen? Let me show you. First of all, you need to understand, big moves are more likely to happen from big time frames. What are big time frames? Your HTFs, your dailies, your weeklies, your monthlies. These are where big moves are likely to happen. Now remember, what I've been telling you guys over and over in countless numbers of videos is that you do not want to, just because we have a daily reject daily and a daily bullish storyline, right? Correct, we have ourselves a daily bullish storyline, right? Just because we have that does not mean that we limit and restrict ourselves to only tunnel visioning H4 timeframes. What is tunnel visioning? Tunnel visioning does not mean that we only focus on H4 timeframes, right? So if we have daily bullish storyline, it doesn't mean we ignore the daily, we ignore the weekly, we ignore the monthly, and only go for H4. No, if you ask me what I would do, this is what I do, this is all I do. If what I'm dealing with right now is the daily storyline, I'm going to look at both the H4 and the daily timeframes. First thing, in fact, I'm going to look at is the nearest daily time frame. And inside that daily time frame, I'm going to refine it to the H4. This is special for the case of the daily storyline because H4 is too small of a time frame for us to say, oh, big moves are going to happen from there. Usually, little wicks happen from there, right? But if you look at this red arrow right here on the right-hand side, the big long red arrow, this is not just a little wick. This is a, we had a little consolidation. We had a boom, shoot down, boom, shoot up, right? If you look at where my mouse cursor is right now, this would be considered just a little wick, right? And if you observe where this little wick came from, it actually came from the left shoulder of this H4. We had that break up, price comes back to tap into that left shoulder, and then we fly up. It's just these little sort of like, oh, it wicks, oh, it wicks, oh, it wicks, and then goes up. But here you see we had a little sell, we had a buy, we had a sell, boom, down into this area, and then it just flies up, right? There's proper structure in here. So what was significant about this? Let's go and find this out in the actual charts, my friends. First, let me confirm everything is recording well. Yes, we are recording well, 4 minutes in. Okay, full screen this, and let's go. So this trade was right here. See, I even marked it, I think, for myself in this yellow, in this little yellow box. We're gonna make this a POI, right? So in this box, we have the question. Now let's go over to the daily because that's what the question was about. The question was about the daily. So this was the area that he was questioning us about, okay? He was worried about this area right here. Okay, so first we need to understand the whole storyline. So first we need to go to something like a higher time frame and see. First thing we go to is the monthly, We take a look. All right, so on the monthly itself, did it touch this bottom area? No. Was there anything on the left-hand side? Could it have been this area right here? No. Price is just completely blown through it. All right, fine. Was it this? Nope, too far down. So there's nothing on the monthly to indicate to us, oh, it's like a monthly reject monthly, something like that. Nothing like that for us. Okay, fine. Let's go ahead and take a look at the weekly. Next best thing, right? We always look at the next best thing. So when we take a look at the weekly, we actually have a weekly bullish storyline. So it's not just a daily reject daily like he's mentioned over here. So he's mentioned over here, after D reject daily, it's not just a daily reject daily. Maybe he just wanted to simplify it for me, that's fine, but it was not just a daily reject daily. This actually started off as a weekly reject weekly. Whether it started off or not, doesn't matter, but we had ourselves a weekly reject weekly. We had a sell, we had a buy. This is a support. Price comes down and wicks it. Now you can argue, oh, Avi, this is where the daily comes in play. Oh, Avi, over here you can see the body of the candle actually closes right below. So isn't that like not clean? If you consider that not clean, then you go to the next best thing, which is the daily. All right. Now you have to understand the way I trade for just 60 pips, 100 pips. And this is something I do on like my personal accounts. On my bigger accounts, yes, I do swing, 300,000 pips even on a position trade. But coming back to the point, we're only dealing with 60 pips, right? For most of us, we're trying to trade funded accounts, prop firms, whatever you want to call it. So we don't take too many pips. We want to take something realistic. 40, 50, 60 pips with, 25, 30 pip stop losses. Things like that is what we would prefer to take. So real short-term targets, intraday scalping sort of maneuvers, and that's what we're dealing with. So the weekly wouldn't really benefit us too much, but remember, just because we are not looking at the we're not trading a position trade or trading a swing trade does not mean we completely forget about the other two higher time frames. Notice how, even as an intraday trader, such as myself, I do consider myself an intraday trader. Even though I'm an intraday trader, I do not skip past the weekly and the monthly time frames. Notice how I just did that top-down analysis. I started from the monthly. I saw there was nothing there. I went to the weekly. I said it could be argued that we had a weekly reject weekly, but then I said, okay, in case you guys thought that the weekly reject weekly was not clean or clear enough, then we go to the next best thing, which is the daily time frame. All right. Now on the daily time frame, it's just incredibly easy to spot this. We have ourselves a support, a sell and a buy. We have ourselves a support created. Price comes in with this black candle or this bearish candle on Thursday, Thursday 3rd November 2022, and we had ourselves a daily reject daily. Can we all agree with this? Now, after this daily reject daily, all we're taking a look at is whether we had a break of structure on the H4. Why do we want to look at the H4? Because we had a daily reject daily. Maybe you argued that the weekly was not too clear because we had that little pixel break right there, right? It wasn't too clean. Okay, we go to the daily, we take a look at what's happening over there. So on the daily, we have ourselves daily reject daily. Now we're going to the H4. We're taking a look at whether we had a break of structure, and what do you know? We have ourselves a break of structure right here, guys. We get the trend line out, boom, just like that. So we had ourselves this as the daily support, and then we have this right here as the H4 break. Okay, and we okay on this right there. So we have ourselves a H4 break, we have ourselves a daily support. Now this right here confirms what? When I say confirm, we all know it's not 100%. It just means we can be confident that the daily bullish storyline has started. Now, I know what you guys are wondering, Avi, get to how you enter this. I know, give me a second. The daily bullish storyline has started. So once the daily bullish storyline has started, we need to understand where we should start being worried about. We need to start being worried about. So we had a H4 break over here. So in this day, we finally broke the H4. Can we agree with this? Hold on, let's see. Was it in that day? Yes, so we had the daily reject daily on Thursday, and only on Friday, guys, only on Friday, the price break that H4. Only on Friday. So then the next week, Monday, we would start to look for entries, because on Friday, we confirmed a daily bullish storyline, but we can't trade on Saturdays and Sundays. So Monday, we can say, okay, daily storyline has started thanks to the Friday's break of the structure. Now we can start to look for entries. Now, once we break above, we need to understand daily bullish storyline. We need to be aware of what? We need to be aware of daily resistances. Yeah, H4s too, but we want to pay attention mostly to the higher time frames, because major swings are going to happen from the higher time frames. So if we have a daily bullish storyline, yes, by right, by rules, by system, H4 should be the obstacle, but it's likely that price is just going to blow through the H4 and instead go to the dailies. So we don't need to worry about this daily because we broke it. We don't need to worry about this one or this one either because we broke it. But the next daily that we potentially have to worry about would be this guy and this guy. This one's been tested, so we don't care. See how this one tested it? And these ones above right here and above right here, all of these ones. So we just know it starts roughly around here. Still, we're not done. We need to go into the weekly and take a look at what else we have. Okay, this is when it broke. This daily lines up beautifully with a weekly resistance. So we know we just need this one zone, guys. We just need this one zone. And once price trades to this area, we need to start being careful. We need to start being careful. We need to start looking for signs of price selling off. Now we can say, all right, let us take a look at how we can enter this. So on Friday is the only time when once Friday finished, once the day was over, that was the moment when we could say that the daily storyline has shifted to becoming bullish. Now, once it's shifted to becoming bullish, guys, it's very simple. We know that we should be worried about everything above here. What do? We simply take a look at the nearest daily supports. Why support? Because daily bullish storyline, right? Obviously, we're looking at support to buy. We're not going to look at resistance to buy, right? We're going to look at the nearest daily support, and we're going to refine that nearest daily support to a H4, H1. That's all we're doing, guys. That is all we're doing. So let's take a look at this. We will make this yellow. Okay, we look at the nearest one. So we have this. See, I don't, misinform you guys and just show it over here, right? And these two areas. See how I'm marking the buy, sell, that's a resistance becomes support, and I have this open, close, resistance becomes support. So I'm marking both of them, okay? And all we need, and of course this one below here, right? And all we need to do, guys, all we need to do is observe for reactions inside here, or just use a confluence like a trend line, like a what do you call this, kill zone, an ICT kill zone, time of day. Use some confluences, right? So if you were to take a look at this one, we had a beautiful, this is an example of how price doesn't always play the way you want it to play. We had ourselves a daily reject daily right here, and then we had ourselves a H4 new support. Sell, buy, H4 new support. Yes, of course, there was no daily bullish storyline that started from here, but this is a medium risk trade opportunity. You would have been completely stopped out, I believe. Let me see. Yeah, for sure, 50 pips already, but let's even assume if you refined it, I think you still would have been stopped out. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. Let's see. Okay, so you refined it to here. Yeah, 34 pips, you would have been stopped out by spread, if not anything. Right? Yeah, 34 pips. You can basically say that you got stopped out of this trade. And you have to understand, okay, so yeah, let's assume we got stopped out of that trade. No problem. We have ourselves another opportunity here because we know our direction. Guys, storylines are rarely ever manipulated. I can count on one hand the number of times that storylines have been intentionally manipulated. Of course, the market, the algorithm, whatever, doesn't even know that a storyline exists. I'm saying our rules of what constitute a storyline rarely ever get disrespected, rarely ever get manipulated. It's usually our own bad reading, right? But here it's very easy. We have a daily reject daily. There was nothing clear on the weekly. There was absolutely nothing for bullishness on the monthly, but we do have ourselves a daily reject daily, and we had ourselves a H4 break. This is just the clearest thing of day. And also once H4 broke, we never had another daily reject daily resistance at the top, to sort of like be a counter playing between daily. We never had anything like that. This was super clear, super clean. All that was left to do is to mark up your zone. Your first one would have been a loss. Your second zone will be in here. All you need to do is pull up the H4s and take a look at what you had inside here, right? And what we have this one here, which has already been tested. Look at this: buy, sell, resistance, breaks, becomes support. This one has already been tested, so we can completely negate that. Plus, this H4 isn't even within the daily. Remember, this is the daily, the start of the daily, and the bottom of another daily, right? Let me show you what I'm talking about one more time. Daily. Okay, quickly, let's go back to the H4. Now, there's no point in us touching on this, but we can go for this. This one makes a lot of sense, right? We have ourselves a H4, okay, within the daily, and then we also have another one that I would have personally marked right here. Sell, buy. This is a support, breaks, becomes resistance, or becomes an SBR, and then the SBR breaks, and this would be a future opportunity as well. And of course, we can go to the H1s, right? And we can see right in here, these areas would have been absolutely perfect for an entry if you had it perfectly right on here. First of all, you have to understand, guys, when I mark these things, Avi, it missed. Answer this question for me, guys. How many times have you set your buy limit to the exact pip of this line, and then price comes, touches it, and goes, and your limit was not even triggered? Why is that? Because of your spread. Remember, guys, we always have to take into account spread. I always have I think it was a 2 pip or 20 pipette spread. I don't know what you want to call it, but I think I have a 2 pip spread always. So this would 100% hit. This bottom one, no, it would not have hit. Fair enough, it wouldn't have hit. But this top one, easily. What I would have personally done, I would have looked for something inside here. See the bottom one? The bottom one stands for a daily. Am I right? Let's look at the bottom one again. See this daily? I will go and look there for a H4, H1. I'll go and look there. All right. So we don't have anything. You could say this one, this little zone over here. Yeah, sure, you can say that. All right. But the top one is the best. We have a top one and we have a H4 right below that. So I'll take this. I'll take those entries. Both of those entries, I'll take it. Absolutely no issue. I'll take both of those entries. Right. And if you're ever in like, if you're ever doubtful or something like that, you can just use a trend line. I think this one may have met right there. So if you're wondering how we draw the trend line, it's always using 2 connections first. You first need 2 connections. So in this case, it would be something like this, like this. Okay, there's 2 connections. We draw the line. And then on the third one, there also happens to be a SNR passing by here. And we take the entry like that. So just like this, we have actually in our line chart, we can see that. First one, we have the second one. Let's move this down just a little bit. Just like that. And we have this zone. Guys, remember something about trend lines. Remember something about trend lines. We draw the trend line as the third thing. First is the multi-time frame, your storyline, your zones, blah, blah, blah. Second thing is the zone refinements, right? So you need to have a solid zone first. The third thing is finally your trend line. Remember, that's why they call it MTF or SNR, MTF, TL. TL meaning trend line, okay? The trend line is the final thing you draw to add a confluence, right? We have this top here as a daily support. The bottom here is another daily support. There wasn't anything clear as a H4, H1, SNR below. You could say this left shoulder, but that's very, very low. But yes, you can mark it for sure. But mostly we can see this daily, there's a H4. You can see we have a H4 open closed resistance that gets broken up, never gets tested after that. That was fresh. And yes, just the fact that we have ourselves a daily in here is enough, plenty enough. The fact that we have a daily so close to the bottom. These are the discretions. These are the flexibility. This is the flexibility that we need to have. All right, guys. And then, yes, we draw ourselves a trend line and we say, oh, look, we have a trend line meeting up with the daily. And we also have a trend line meeting up with the bottom one. So we can have an entry here and another entry below. But like I said, even if you have an entry right here as a limit, you're definitely going to have to compensate for the spreads that your broker takes. So you will for sure be tagged in, guys. And that is the answer to this question over here. All right. How can we take this type of market? So the answer to this question is very simple. You want to not just be don't be hyper fixated on the H4 just because, oh, daily storyline, so only H4 I pay attention to. No, my friend. Daily storyline, first draw your daily support. This is why it's a bit confusing, because when we talk about a weekly storyline, it's nothing to do with the H4. We're just going straight to the daily and then H4, H1. But with the daily H4, you can do it, my friends. You can just use a H4, sure. But the first thing you want to do is mark your bigger time frames first. Always mark the bigger time frames and then refine to your H4. This is the distinction. This is the difference between a daily storyline and a weekly or a monthly. A monthly, you're only dealing with a weekly. You don't bother about a daily. A weekly, you're only dealing with the daily and the weekly. You're not bothering about the H4s, you see. So this is the only distinction about daily storylines. All right, pay attention to the daily. So you can see we had ourselves one here. This is a RBS. We had ourselves a left shoulder as well, by the way. Just forgot to mention that. Now I'm seeing it in hindsight. I can see it. Had ourselves a left shoulder. We had ourselves another RBS. So there's a bunch. There's another left shoulder here. There's another RBS here. There's another left shoulder down below, open, close. But like I said, this one's just completely up to your own eyes. You need to be flexible enough to see, okay, we just broke above and price doesn't necessarily have to retrace all the way down. You see what I'm trying to say? We're in a daily bullish. Price can reject off of this. Price can reject off of this. This can go all the way down and reject off of these. We do not know. We do not know. All right, so I hope that answers your question. Yes, it definitely should be answering your questions. Price never came back to test the fresh levels because you're only looking at the H4. Price actually reacted from multiple daily areas, guys. Reacted from multiple daily areas. All right, so what time are we in? We're in 20 minutes. We still have about, I'd like to make it around 30 minutes because I can cover a lot of things. Let's go to SS1. Now this question, Jude says, something that I don't understand about the breakout. In this example, the daily SNR that caused the push to weekly. Oh wait, this is an example kind of thing. Dang, okay, hold on, let me see. Something that I don't understand about the breakout. In this example, the daily SNR that caused the push to the weekly resistance and caused rejection. What is this sentence structure, bro? Should the SNR that will be the breakout point happen before it touches the weekly? Okay, I understand this part. I understand this part very, very well. I only understand this part. Should the SNR that will be the breakout happen before it touches the weekly resistance? And then that's the question. The push high, it must close above the SNR, or it can be a wick that filled the weekly resistance, and after that this SNR is the breakout point. Let me read this again. I don't understand this. The push high, it must, so we're dealing with resistances here, guys. So when price is coming up to a resistance, this person is saying when price is coming up to a resistance, the push high, must it close above the SNR, or can it be a wick that filled the resistance, and then after that this SNR is the breakout point? My friend, that's a very easy answer to that question. If it closes above the SNR, that's not a rejection anymore, my friend. That is a break of the structure. So let me go back to SS1. Let me go back to here. So if we have ourselves, this is our SNR right here. If we have this is our SNR, and price comes in and breaks above, that is completely false. Like we can have an entry over here, like just a sell limit. We just place a sell limit, sure, but this is completely false in the sense of daily reject daily. Same thing like this. Okay, this is a much better example. Right, I think it's better if I use a trend line. See? This resistance, price, perfectly fresh resistance, price comes up, breaks it, guys, it closed above. So if you were to look at this question again, the push high, it must close above the SNR, or can it be a wick that filled the resistance? It must, if you want to talk about daily reject daily, it must be a wick that comes, it must be a price that comes, closes below, right? So a rejection will be like, I don't know why I can't see a rejection anywhere. There's a bunch over here. I'm trying to look for something very clear and very clean, but something very clear and very clean would be like this, I guess, left shoulder, right? See, price comes in, rejects it. This is very clear and very clean. I mean, there's a bunch, there is a lot. It's just I need to find it there, like this. Very clear, very clean. Buy, sell, that's a resistance. Price comes in. See, the body must close below, my friend. The candle cannot close above. If the candle closes above, then it's just like this scenario here. See? The candle closes above the resistance. Now, what do you do in this case? In this case, it is perfectly valid for you to refine the daily. Okay, from the daily, you go to the H4, right? Now in the H4, we have ourselves an MTF. This one is already touched. In the H4, we have ourselves an resistance as well. You go to the H1. I don't know whether it touched the top, but we can definitely draw the open, close, and then right here. Right? So we can have this for sure, and then just place a sell limit. That's it. But we cannot say daily reject daily. This is not daily reject daily, my friend. Right? We cannot say that this is daily reject daily. This is not daily reject daily. This is a daily break already. Okay? Just that let's be very honest here. This is where common sense and critical thinking skills come into play. Nobody's going to be buying inside here, right? Everybody's looking to either sell or wait for daily reject daily. So for me, or for anyone who's a little bit more advanced, we would simply take it as inside this daily, we go to H4, we go to H1, we place a sell limit. Then after we place a sell limit, what are we doing by placing the sell limit? We are placing the sell limit. This is revision, my friends. We are placing the sell limit in anticipation that we have this come, touch, close below as a rejection. We want this candle to come and reject. This is the reason why we're placing the sell limit. Is in anticipation that we have ourselves a daily rejection. Okay, that doesn't happen, so that's a different story. So coming back to your question now, what else did you talk about? Something that I don't understand about the breakout in this example, the daily SNR that caused the push to weekly resistance caused rejection. In this example, the daily SNR that caused the push to weekly resistance and caused rejection. This isn't even a question. In this example, the daily SNR that caused the push to weekly and caused the rejection. Should the SNR that will be the breakout point happen before? Let me understand this question and get back to you guys, man. I'm sorry, bro. Give me 1 second real quick. Okay, right. So that literally took me 5 solid minutes, by the way, off the camera. I went back to the video that he was talking about. There was no timestamp whatsoever, so I have no idea what he's talking about, but I've understood, I've reread the screenshot and I've understood what he's trying to say. So I think he's talking about a breakout in general, but then he says in this example, but does not provide any timestamp. So I'm not sure what he's talking about, but the principle is the same. In this example, the daily SNR that caused the push to weekly resistance and caused the rejection. Should this daily SNR that we're talking about, which is a support, which caused the push to the weekly resistance, okay? Should that SNR be the breakout point that happens? So should that SNR break out before it touches the weekly resistance? This person or whoever, it's not, I'm not trying to be rude or anything. It's just, you need to understand how this works. We have ourselves a resistance. And this is, let's say, a daily SNR that pushes price. Boom. Maybe not too many. We'll just say something like this. This is the daily SNR that pushes price into the resistance, the weekly resistance or whatever. Now we need this to break, and he's asking, do we need this to break before it even touches? So break first and then go up and touch and then sell off? Or, let's go look at this question again. Should the SNR that will be the breakout point happen before it touches the weekly resistance? Yes, of course. So what his question is like this. This is the SNR that hasn't touched the resistance yet. Should it be created before it touches? Or is it like this? Boom. No, guys. This is the one. You want this to be broken. So to answer your question, yes, this SNR needs to be created before it touches the weekly resistance. It is whatever SNR was the last SNR created to go and push you into here. That's it. That is it. There's no need for us to overcomplicate anything. It's the same thing as this. The last SNR to go and push price into the daily. The daily is like somewhere around here, right? The daily is somewhere around here. The daily is somewhere around here. This was the last SNR that pushed, that caused the push into this daily. So this is the one we want broken. We don't care if there's anything over here. We want this to be broken. Whichever is the last SNR that pushes price down, that is the one that we want to see broken. Where were we talking about? I think we're talking somewhere up here. Yeah, there we go. That is the one that we want to see broken, guys. The SNR before we touch, okay? Should the SNR that will be the breakup point happen before it touches the weekly? Yes, this SNR has happened before it touched the weekly. This pink is the weekly. This pink is the weekly. It must happen before it touches the weekly. This SNR must happen before it touches the weekly. And then this one must be broken. After the rejection has happened, it must be broken. So hope that answers your question. Okay, so yeah, that has answered the question for sure. There's another person. Are there this is by Pandaman156. Are there criteria for choosing between trend trading following the weekly storyline? So let me read this again. Are there criteria for choosing between trend trading by following the weekly storyline and daily obstacle, by following the weekly story and daily obstacle trading for the weekly story? It's really, really weird sentence structure, man. I love to answer these questions. I saw this question, I was like, this probably is a nice one. And then now I'm reading it again, I'm like, holy bro, what is this? I don't understand. But now I do, I kind of get it. So when you're following a bullish weekly storyline, so let's assume you have a bullish weekly storyline. How do you know when to keep trading with the weekly and when to take sells from the daily obstacle? Very simple. It's up to you. Do you want to take sells from a daily obstacle? If so, then you wait for the daily criteria to occur. What is this criteria for the daily? Well, when you have yourself, I don't have an example on the charts. I can't just spring up an example right now, but let's assume you have yourself, okay, this is a great example. weekly bearish. So now the question is trend trading following the weekly storyline or trading the daily obstacle following the weekly storyline. Okay, so when you have a weekly storyline, what do you have? You trend trade, right? According to the weekly storyline. But there's also an obstacle on the daily because it's a weekly storyline, so daily is going to be the obstacle, correct? Correct. Okay, cool. How do you know when to do which? Now, here's the criteria for when you should start worrying about your weekly storyline. So we have ourselves a weekly storyline right here, guys. Buy, sell, resistance, weekly reject weekly. After weekly reject weekly happens, we have ourselves a daily breakout. Now we have ourselves a weekly storyline. If we have ourselves a weekly storyline, what do we do, guys? First thing we do, we take a look at the weekly resistances and then we take a look at the daily resistances. Okay, not just only the daily. Of course, daily is very important because it's a weekly bearish storyline, but also look at the weekly because weekly is going to hold more power over the daily. Okay, so from here we go and take a look. Okay, what's the nearest weekly? So here's where we confirm weekly storyline. The nearest weekly would be up in here. That's too far, so maybe we mark it, but then there's nothing else in between. So until price reaches in here, we can then look for some dailies. All right, what are some of the dailies? We have ourselves a daily right here. Boom. Right, we have ourselves a daily right here, so we can say, okay, now we're going to sell continuation. Now, when do we pay attention to the daily obstacle trading? Well, when we have because we're paying attention to the daily, when we have a daily, okay, that has made a support or has made a breakout, then we should probably be worried about our weekly sells, correct? We have weekly bearish storyline. Price has made a daily support. Weekly bearish storyline, price has made a daily support. We should probably pay attention to what's happening, correct? So like this, sell, buy, daily support. Weekly bearish storyline, by the way, but daily support. So we're going to pay attention inside here. Daily reject daily. Was there any H4 breakout? So here we had the daily reject daily, but no H4. See, this would be the buy sell, the last structure that caused price to come inside and tap into that daily. Was there any H4 breakout? No, there was no H4 breakout. So we ignore this. Why? Because we have a daily support, yes, but there's no daily bullish storyline to go with it. Does it mean that you don't attempt a buy from here? Because price can just create a daily support, right? So we have a weekly bullish, price can be coming down and then boom, creates a daily support and price just wicks and goes like this. Sure, this can absolutely happen. But whether you take the trade or not is completely up to you guys. I'm giving you the criteria. So I'm answering your question very perfectly, very concisely. What is the criteria for trading the daily obstacle? Well, it's up to you. You can just take it off of here. Daily creates a support, boom. You refine daily to H4, H4 to H1, boom. You just take it. Yes, you can do that. High risk, but you can do it. Sure, successful. You can be successful. But for a lower medium risk, what do you need? Weekly bearish storyline. Daily creates a bullish support. Then on daily reject daily that bullish support. And then H4 makes a breakout. Then we can say, oh crap. We have a daily bullish storyline, but a weekly bearish storyline. Maybe price is retracing into a weekly sell, or maybe price is going to reverse, who knows, right? So then we pay more attention. And that happens right here. So what I just showed you happens right here. So again here, guys, we have another, this is weekly bearish, by the way, no sign of bullishness yet. Weekly bearish, but we have a daily support. Now we're going to mark the daily support and go into H4 and take a look at whether we had a H4 break of structure. Now, how many people who follow this theory that, oh, if open close breaks, that means that's a breakout. See, we have a breakout here. Daily comes inside, we have a breakout of the H4. How many people would have been stopped out, guys? A lot of people, right? A lot of people would have been stopped out. Okay, so open close is not a strong break of structure. Yes, it can be used, but it's not strong. But you can see this would be the buy sell, the last buy sell, the last structure that caused price to go and touch into this daily. It's the last structure. Remember the daily we're talking about, guys, right? Talking about this daily, okay? The last structure that came down and touched into it was this. So we want to see a break of this, but that never happened. So who cares? We move on. Continue holding ourselves, blah, blah, blah. And then again, price goes and creates a support here on the daily. Sell, buy, support. Now again, we have to go and take a look what happens. So first of all, we had ourselves a daily reject daily, and the candle closes, right? Of course, we need the candle to close for us to know it's a rejection. The day has to end, the candle has to close, then we know it's a daily reject daily. While it's rejecting, it means nothing, okay? Now in here we realize, so this was first of all, what day was this rejection? This was a Monday, so we go take a look at H4 and take a look at the Monday. So this is what happened in Monday. This was the sell. Price appeared to have just sold, touched into that daily, and then just gone up. So this wouldn't have actually been the last structure that caused the tap into. This is the first time price tapped into it, okay, into the daily. So this is the buy sell going up, boom, right? This is the last structure that actually caused it. It doesn't really matter in this case. It really doesn't. This is where your discretion and flexibility comes about. This is a very messy example, but like I said before, if you can handle the messy examples, you're all good for the clean examples, okay? Over here would be the actual proper, most perfect, accurate depiction of a breakout, right? But I'll be very honest with you, even for me, I took it as this. Very honest with you. You can even see from a previous video, I'm not lying. Even in the previous video, I thought this was the actual breakout. Does not matter. Literally does not matter too much. We have the breakout, right? So now we have a H4 breakout after daily reject daily. We have a weekly bearish storyline. Weekly bearish storyline means weekly bearish storyline means daily obstacles. I'm going to say this again. Weekly bearish storyline. Weekly bearish storyline means daily support is the obstacle. And now we have created a daily support. Weekly bearish storyline, daily support is the obstacle. We have created a daily support, daily reject daily. Not only that, we had a H4 breakout. This means daily bullish storyline in the midst of the weekly. We should probably be aware. Maybe take some profits from here. Take some profits from here, wherever. Maybe be careful of the sells, right? Take some profits, be careful of the sells. Take a look at whether you can come for a counter trend for a buy, right? When you take the counter trend for a buy, you know you don't have to worry too much about this target. You don't have to worry too much about this target. You just need to worry about this guy right here. This one actually didn't get touched, so maybe you want to pay attention to this, see whether there's another daily reject daily. Right over here, you want to pay attention again. Does it come, does it blast through, or does it daily reject daily? Then you can take profits or hold your buys depending on that. So guys, that is the Q&A done. I hope that you guys enjoyed this. I know it was a little bit here and there. Wasn't the clearest, but to be fair, the questions weren't the clearest either. And I've tried my best to answer them in the most concise manner and the most accurate manner possible. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hope this has helped. Leave a like if you want. Telegram channel link in the description section below. If I forget to use it, just go to one of my older videos and take a look at the description. You'll find the Telegram link. See you guys in the next video, man. Peace out. Take care, bro.